And the folks that we're going to be hearing from today are kind of newer members. And I did this, I think last year I got up and talked about why I decided to come to this church and what it means to me. And this morning I actually found out that my car had been broken into. And so I was kind of in a, solemn mood. But I was going to pick up Davina, and she always puts a smile on my face. And then I was coming here, and that really just said something to me about what this place means to me. And, when the basket comes around and I put in $10, $20 a week, it's because I'm paying to come here to hear Daryl's sermon and remind myself about being a better person, being a better community member, being a better friend, being a better Christian. And I come here to see all of you people that put a smile on my face every single Sunday. And I know that even if I start off the day and it's kind of not going great, I'm excited to come here every week. And I'm excited to partake in fellowship after church, and most importantly, eat Betty's cookies and brownies that she always brings. And that's what I pay for every single week. I pay for us to have a home, to come here and be with one another and get spiritually renewed. So think about that when you're listening to these testimonials from new members about, what are we paying for? We're paying to be a part of a community. And whether you volunteer at the food bank, or whether you are involved with the Lake County Library, or the Hockaday, or Glacier Symphony, or Big Brothers Big Sisters, we all are a part of these organizations because we believe in what they do in our community, and we want them to be a vital part of our community. And we pay for those things with our time and our efforts and our money. And this church is something very special to me that I am glad to pay for every single week to be a part of it. So with that being said, I will hand it over to Bruce. Yep. Bruce is going to be our first testimonial about why this is the church he loves.
Hannah, I was at a place in my journey where I felt like a pretty complicated person and felt kind of alone in the fact that I was a Christian. There was no question about that, but it didn't fit with a lot of what I saw going on here in a lot of the Christian churches. And I'd always felt a little bit left, if you will, of a lot of the settings that I was in. And Susan and I met and got married, and she felt the same way, having lived here and gone on through her own journey from a very black and white place to a place of seeing more shades of gray and then lots of different colors in the world, but still feeling very anchored to the Christian worldview and the person of Jesus as the central spiritual figure. And we had kind of resigned ourselves to the fact that we weren't going to find a place that would be a good fit for us, given how colorful we saw the world. But still, as Christians, we weren't Unitarians. That wasn't a good fit until we came across CCC and realized, oh gosh, here's a place where we're actually kind of right of center. Here's a community where we're actually, right in there, and we have to grow as people and begin to see more colors and become more embracing of different people and different worldviews, but it's precisely where we wanted to be and needed to be spiritually. So this was the church that we were looking for, whether we knew it or not. Literally. And another thing that we love about this place is that it really, really embodies the true meaning of a church, which is the people and not the building. And that's a common misconception I think that people generally have. It really is the people that make this place, and we love that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I needed to add. Is Is there anything I'm missing big?
Andre Floyd.
Nothing's leaving. We love the music.
And Craig.
We love what's going on with the music. And I'll just close by saying I've become kind of a zealot for the church, and I begin to make people uncomfortable by raising the fact that I go to the CCC and what the CCC is at all kinds of awkward times in various situations and inappropriate times in the eyes of some people. I don't think it's ever inappropriate to say, I love my church. And it's a neat place, and people kind of get tired of it. And I even tell the marketing team, we're an evangelism team. We're not a marketing team, we're an evangelism team. And I know that rankles people the wrong way, and it has a different kind of connotation that other people do, but I know what I mean when I say that. And that is that I think there's a whole lot of us out there that don't know about the CCC and would find a home here if they knew. So, thanks.
And this community in particular needs to gather. So I thought this was a great church, and honestly the reason that I was comfortable with providing the musical direction for this church was because at the Martin Luther King rally some 4 or 5 years ago, I met Daryl, and we just got along so well. It felt like a great opportunity to work with Daryl. I had not met y'all yet. We had done a little bit together at a Christmas program 3 years ago, but I didn't really know you yet. And as I get to know you, I feel like this is family for me. My family, my blood family, is far away on the Gulf of Mexico or in the Eastern Seaboard. No one anywhere near here. But that's just a bloodline thing, and this is a spiritual thing. And this place, this church, this community is in need of this moral kiosk, this spiritual kiosk that we can put up our beliefs and put them into the faces of those who march a more cookie cutter type of faith type of base. We are not cookie cutter. At the very least, we are not cookie cutter. There is nothing really traditional about us except that we gather and praise Jesus. But beyond these walls is where our work begins, and so that's what attracted me, was when I saw megaphones out there at the library when they were having those films in the public library. I've been reading our articles that have been affiliated with Daryl's philosophy and in the paper, and when he gets an opportunity to share that in print in our common media that we call the Daily Interlake, and in the Flathead Beacon as well. So I still think we have a lot of work. This is still the church I'm looking for, but I like what I'm seeing. And I like who I'm seeing, but more importantly, I like what you're saying. And so that's, I just think we have a lot more work to do, and it's this church sort of is like an art project. It is always becoming more interesting, but it is never finished. And so, there's a lot of work to do, and I'm glad to be part of that, of that group, of that energy that keeps moving this community forward, and particularly the Valley, where we have such a conservative base, where we feel like we need to post 10 commandments on vehicles and on billboards and on earrings and keychains, where maybe those things are more about being lived than they are about being broadcasted. This church is actually living those things, and we don't have to broadcast them. And that's why I chose this. Actually, you chose me, and I'm growing in it. That's really the way it works for me. In terms of reaching out, we have so much more work to do. We can become very complacent about how we celebrate the joy of being here, and we need to go to our neighbors and invite them to be in here. And if they don't want to come back, that's fine. But at least give them an opportunity and give them a chance to make an informed decision about a rare event in our valley known as Community Congregational Church. and give them an opportunity to lean forward as well. And so, you know, there's still a lot of work to do, but yeah, and but this is the church I'm still looking for.
Over 10 years ago in Dallas, Texas, at First Community Church. I had no idea what type of church I was walking into. I had no idea what a United Church of Christ congregation was. I did not know about the history of it being first in so many social justice and prophetic avenues, from the first predominantly white church to ordain an African American person, to the first denomination to ordain a gay and lesbian person back in 1972. And everything in between, what the United Church of Christ has done over its years. But when I really went to go looking for a church, after Sash and I were not happy in Ohio, and our good friend and sweet prayer partner, Randy Hibnan, who's now retired and hopefully enjoying retirement in his first month of retirement, called me and said, there's this small church in Kalispell. You're going to have to take a $10,000 pay cut. You're going to have to work probably twice as hard as you've ever worked, and that you have like no health insurance, and you probably have about 2 years to get the job done. Why don't you come on out? Why don't you leave your cushy job teaching at a college and come on out? And Sasha and I, honestly, we thought we would just take y'all for a ride. We'd go visit Glacier National Park. We'd fly back to Ohio and say, thanks so much for inviting us. We had a great time. Good luck on your pastoral search. But it was something about the spirit of this place called us here, and I am so happy that God led us here and that you welcomed us. I've been talking to a good friend of mine who is in the process of looking for a new congregation because he's been in a place for about 5 or 6 years and it's just not working out the way that he wanted. And he says, Daryl, I want a church like yours. He says, you never have to censor a single word that comes out of your mouth. You can do some of the craziest programming that you would like to do, and no one says a word. He says, unless you take a hard turn to the right and start telling people that they need to have Jesus as their Lord and Savior into their hearts, and you start doing altar calls and saying that they need to be washed in the blood of Jesus, the congregation's pretty much going to go with whatever you do. You've built up great ecumenical and multi-faith relationships where one of your best friends is the rabbi in town. He says you've put together a band where you can do everything from children's songs to black gospel to Bob Dylan and the Grateful Dead, U2, and a little bit later on, Natalie Merchant. And you love it, it's what you want. Like, why would you ever leave? And I said, well, why would I? Because I've found the church I'm looking for. And so I am so pleased to be your pastor. I am honored that you would give me the responsibility of being your pastor. Jim said one of the nicest things to me about 6 weeks ago. When I was brought here, when I interviewed here the very first time, Jim Mankey said to me, you do realize that ordained clergy have pretty much been the problem for the last 2,000 years. And despite that, I still wanted to come. And about 6 weeks ago, Jim said to me, I have never been more satisfied and confident in the leadership of this church than what I am right now. And I didn't take that as just a personal comment to me, but in terms of the entire board. I work with a great friend. I'm making even a great friend. I have a great board to work with, and I have a fantastic congregation. I hope that you've been inspired by our stewardship message this morning.